Alright, so this is YouTube Joseph W. and podcast. Maybe again, yes, so let's begin. So today is part two for history of the Earth. So far, first let me introduce the the people on. It's me, YouTube Joseph W. and my friend Nassim, my friend James. There's Frost Family, Nassim's Hangout Baldwin, and there's Jared, who's Jared Jones. Sorry if I gave away your last name, Jared. Sorry if you didn't want.
I,
Oh, it's pretty obvious. Any, anyway, so the so far we talked about the formation of the Earth, the collision that created the Moon, the original life, the first multicellular life, all in the Precambrian, and then the Cambrian explosion, the Cambrian period, the first two mass extinctions, the Ordovician one, the Devonian, as well as the first life on land and the Ordovician, and then the first land animals in the Silurian, the first land tetrapods, and first land vertebrates. And the Devonian, and the giant insects and coal swamps of the Carboniferous. By now, like 300 million years ago, which is where we left off, around there, all the continents have formed into pre-Pangea. Oh, by this point, they're just Pangea. They came together and formed Pangea, the largest supercontinent, the largest landmass. In the in the history of animal life. Um, 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 what are you talking about, James?
to
James,
avoid to avoid saying his full name, why not just call him by his gamer tag or whatever that is?
I don't know what gamer tag means. You're talking about Gerard.
it's all right.
Gerard, are
No,
you upset with me for?
I'm talking
Yeah,
about the guy other
but
than
wait.
him, me, and you.
You mean Nassim?
Me?
I don't know what you mean. Jared, are you upset with me for saying your last name?
Not at all. It's all right. I think it says it on there anyway. So
Anyway, yeah, it is. Anyway, I don't know what James is talking about. Let's get back to talking about the history of the Earth. So, the Permian period from 299 from 299 million to 200 million years ago. 299 million to 250 million years ago um is the age of stem mammals. By this point, the um or in the last period, the Carboniferous, the tetrapods evolved tough eggshells that kept all the water and moisture in, so they could lay their eggs on dry land without them drying out. And they became the first reptiles and the first synapsids. The synapsids are the ancestors of mammals. Dimetrodon in the early Permian was a pelcosaur. Pelcosaurs were the dominant creatures in the early Permian. Dimetrodon was the four-legged sailback then. Well, Jared, do you know what Dimetrodon was?
yeah,
It was, and then the mid Permian, the Denisovalians. I don't know much about that group of synapsids. Were dominant. The late Permian, the Therapsids became the dominant animal. Those are the synapsids that are closest to mammals. They include things like the cynodonts, the dicynodonts, and the most the terrifying of all, the Gorgonopsids. Do you know what the Gorgonopsids were, Gerard?
yeah. The ones. I know what they are. That they look a bit like mammals and a bit like reptiles, and they have them big
Saber
fang
teeth.
things. Yeah, that's
Nassim, are
it.
you listening to? Will you listen to us?
Well,
What?
a little bit.
So then, so by the late Permian, around 260 or 270 million years ago, there's a saber-toothed Gorgonopsids, a group of stem mammals or synapsids. They were the first saber-toothed animals in history, and they were the largest land predators of their time. they evolved. I was one for Halloween, like when I was like, I don't know, 12, or for when I was like 11 or 12. I was a Gorgonopsid for Halloween. Not important. Anyway, now 251.9 million years ago marks the biggest mass extinction the Earth has ever seen. The Great Dian, or end Permian extinction, caused by massive volcanic activity in Siberia. A flood basalt was the type of volcanic activity it was. This flood basalt was known as the Siberian Traps, and they erupted in what is now Siberia. They spewed out lava for like 500,000 years, or it could have been as less as 60,000 years, but their effects went on for 500,000 years. I believe they could have caused another mass extinction that the Great Dying. I'm not 100% sure of this, but could have caused a um, global warming as a secondary extinction for another 500,000 years after that. So a million years after the eruptions began, then another million years of a drought, so another extinction. So basically, I believe it was three mass extinctions in one. Oh, it could have also been other factors caused the Permian extinction. Triple whammy: volcanic eruption, continents colliding, um, um, and the flood basalt was one. Then the continents were all clustered together. So at the center of Pangea was a desert, and it messed up ocean currents. So the climate changed a lot, and and also possibly a collision of a comet. Though there's no evidence for a comet collision, I believe it played a role. Collision with a comet. I mean, no matter what the cause, 95% of all species on Earth died out. 95% of marine creatures and 70% of the land life alive at the time. So there was all the Gorgonopsids were dead. Most of the steppe mammals, in fact, although Gorgonopsids were the only um the only branch of the only um the only branch of the group of stem mammals that went extinct completely. In the seas, the last sea scorpions, the last trilobites, and the last of the spiny sharks, which were a fish, a group of fish that we had. I don't think we talked about last time. They're a class of fish that we haven't talked about last time. Do you know domain, kingdom, phylum, all that?
Hmm.
Not really.
I'll give you an example.
Little
Humans are in
bit.
the domain eukaryotes, kingdom animals, phylum chordates, class mammals, order primates, family hominids, genus Homo, and species Homo sapiens. Those are the most common. Um, those are the most common taxonomic ranks. Those are the basic ones. There are other sub and super, but that's a whole other topic. So um, and then in the wake of the Permian mass extinction, um, it took only 5 million years to recover. Now, 250 million years ago to 65.5 million years ago was the Mesozoic era, the age of reptiles. From 250 million years ago to sorry, not the noise. From to like 60 from 250 million years ago to 200 million years ago was the Triassic period. Around 230 million years ago, the first dinosaurs appeared. The first mammals 210 million years ago. The dinosaurs didn't take over until the next period. So um in the and then also the first pterosaurs appeared around this time. I'm not sure when the first Ichthyosaurs and Plesiosaurs appeared. The Ephyopterygians and Sauropterygians, the marine reptile, which were marine reptiles. And then but on, on land, the dominant animal was on the early Triassic. It was the Dicynodonts and Cynodonts and Phenacephalia, and the remaining synapsids. The mid and late Triassic, it was the Suchians, which were the ancestors of crocodiles. Just as birds are descendants of dinosaurs, crocodilians are descendants of Suchians. and they um and some of them were carnivores, so like Postosuchus. They looked like a cross between a big cat and a crocodile, and some of them were well, I mean, modern mammalian predators. They looked like a cross between modern mammalian predators and crocodiles. And then there was also some like this Matasuchus that were armored plated herbivores. And then also another group that weren't the Suchians, I mean, but could have been related. We're not sure though. The phytosaurs like Rudiodon. They convergently evolved with crocodiles, though they're not related closely, at least. And then, but at the end of the Triassic, another mass extinction occurred. Um, 201 million years ago. I mean, towards the end of the Triassic, another mass extinction occurred due to the breakup of Pangea, caused by the Central Atlantic Magmatic Providence, um, which or CAMP for short, which was a large igneous providence, either a type of volcanic or tectonic activity um, that broke Pangea apart. It spewed out lava, and when it cooled, the Atlantic Ocean formed. Hold on, are you listening, Noah?
Yes, I'm listening.
And it wiped out all the Suchians and their relatives, except for the ancestors of modern crocodilians, as well as the, the last of the non most of the last of the non-mammalian form synapsids. Um, I mean, most of the non-mammalian synapsids, definitely all the dicynodonts, and most of the non-mammalian side. No, it's definitely all the Venezuelans, which some of those were venomous, were wiped out. And then also, if you ever seen Walking with Monsters, the series about life before the dinosaurs, you probably know some of these creatures that I mentioned, like the Gorgonopsid, the Venezuelans, the Dicynodonts, Lystrosaurus, Dictodonts were Dicynodonts, so was Lystrosaurus. Has anyone seen that show, Walking Monsters, or it's the prequel to Walking Dinosaurs?
I think so.
Okay. Anyway, I don't think I think only me and Jared has. Well, I showed James one or two episodes of Walk with Dinosaurs. Anyway, moving on. Sorry, I'm just moving something my memory disk around. So so then the late so then I mean the dinosaurs took over in the Jurassic and Cretaceous as the dominant animals. The Jurassic and Cretaceous was the age of dinosaurs from 200 million years ago to 145 or 140 3 million years ago, something like that. Um, was the Jurassic think like 141 or 104. Well, let me. Well, I'm not sure. Hold or around there. 141 or 143 or something like that million years ago was the end of the Jurassic. And but let me just make a quick disclaimer. Last time I said actually the Cambrian period began 541 million years ago, and the Silurian ended 419 million years ago. I made a mistake with the dates. Anyway, from last time, remember James and Nassim?
Yeah, I remember that.
James, you two remember everything I talked about last time about the history of the Earth? I hope so. Yes,
Yeah,
you do not. You do, James. So I so then in the Jurassic, like 165 million years ago, the first birds appeared in was now Germany. They were called Archaeopteryx. Oh, they weren't really true birds. They were kind of a missing link between non-avian dinosaurs and birds. Around this time, creatures like the Allosaurus, the Stegosaurus, the sauropods like the Diplodocus, Brachiosaurus, and Apatosaurus are are roaming the Earth. I mean, and then in the Cretaceous period, from 141ish million years ago to 65.5 million years ago, is the second part of the age of the dinosaurs. The second period. I mean, in the in the early Cretaceous, around 130 million or 135 million years ago, is when the first flowers and pollinated insects like bees appeared. And then um, and definitely the first true birds appeared around 131 million years ago. And then before that there were just proto or dino birds or stem bird. Well, they would definitely appeared by then, by the early Cretaceous. And then um, so and around up until this point, since Pangea broke up 200 million years ago, 201 million years ago, I forgot to mention the late Triassic mass extinction earlier. It lasted like 600,000 years, um, and was a and was on it broke Pangea into two in the north. I mean the camp eruptions did. Up until this point, they've remained, I think, around some point in the Jurassic or early Cretaceous. Up until this point, North America, Europe, most of Europe and Asia have remained one continent known as Laurasia, one supercontinent, Laurasia in the north, and Gondwana in the south. Gondwana was South America, Africa, India, Madagascar, Antarctica, Australia, New Zealand, the Arabian Peninsula, and southern Europe. But then it started to break apart. Southern Europe, by this point, I think, as well as India and New Zealand. New Zealand, India had already broke up. New Zealand was next. Then around this time, Africa and South America break up, and then the the world is starting to look recognizable. Then around 70-ish million years ago, the late Cretaceous. By this point, um, South America, Antarctica, and South America, Antarctica, and Australia are attached, and we'll get to that later. But there's by this point the mosasaurs live in the oceans. Mosasaurs appeared 100 million years ago. They were marine reptiles. They were marine lizards. Evolved from lizards um, that left the land. Their ancestors were similar to Komodo dragons or marine iguanas, and they swam in the ocean. They were 50 feet long, and they had flippers. Gave birth to live young, and they were apex predators. Do you all know what that means?
I think I know
So
what
I
it means.
wonder. So I wonder if this was the first strange reptile, or maybe even the only one.
You mean marine? No, it wasn't. Around 90 million years, 3 million years ago, the Diophorosaurs went extinct. It was still the plesiosaurs when the mosasaurs lived in the ocean. The plesiosaurs were two types: the long-necked plesiosaurs or elasmosaurs, the short-necked plesiosaurs. And the short-necked plesiosaurs known as the pliosaurs. And then the mosasaurs were apex predators, meaning they were the top of the food chain. So they so that in the skies the pterosaurs were dominant. There was Quetzalcoatlus, the largest flying reptile, the largest flying pterosaur, and the largest flying animal ever in Earth's history. It was as tall as a giraffe with a 39-foot wingspan, as big as a wing. It was a pterosaur as big as a fighter jet. And then imagine that. Imagine riding that. Imagine riding a pterosaur like that, like it's a plane. Would that be cool, right?
Right,
And
but have you ever wondered why there are no reptiles that fly like this today?
we'll get to that in a minute. And then on land there were dinosaurs like T Rex, Triceratops, Hadrosaurs, um, Ankylosaurs, Pachycephalosaurs, which had bone heads, and the Dromaeosaurs, the ornithomimids, throughout the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, there was the top predator were the Abelisaurs like Carnotaurus. There were the long-necked Titanosaurs, the Iguanodonts, the Nodosaurs, which were armored dinosaurs. So were the Ankylosaurs. The Iguanodonts were like the Hadrosaurs, and the Titanosaurs were sauropods like the Brachiosaurus, the Platypus, and the Apatosaurus from the Jurassic. and then there was and then the only mammals were no bigger than house cats. Most of them were mouse size. They were so the reason why there are no pterosaurs and no non-avian dinosaurs today is about 65.9 million years ago, 400,000 years before the end of the Cretaceous, volcanic activity started. Another flood basalt happened. Sorry, just ignore that. In what is now India, known as the Deccan Traps, and then the final nail in the coffin 400,000 years later, 65.5 million years ago, an asteroid 6 miles wide or 10 kilometers hit the planet and exploded off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. It was known as the Chicxulub asteroid. Exploded with the force of 7 billion Hiroshima bombs going off all in one place, all in one instance, and triggered a chain of events that wiped out 75% of all the life on the planet, including all the non-avian dinosaurs, all the pterosaurs, all the plesiosaurs and mosasaurs, the aphriosaurs and pliosaurs were gone by this point, and long gone. And all the ammonites, most fish, sharks, and plankton, even most birds and most early mammals. Um, and and there were, I wish there were flying reptiles today. To answer your question, James, there are gliding reptiles, but not reptiles with powered flight. I mean, like flying lizards or flying snakes. They can only jump from the trees, or tree to tree, or tree to the ground, but they can't actually take off from the ground like birds or bats or pterosaurs or insects. And also there was a fifth group of flying animals during the age of dinosaurs. They were mammals known as the Gilotocodons. They were early mammals that had powered flight. Like if you ever seen Vladicotherium on the kid show Dinosaur Train, that there was that animal. Those animals probably didn't glide. They had powered flight probably. And then anyway, moving on, the last time era I'll be talking about today, the Cenozoic, the age of mammals, where we are now from 65.5 million years ago to the present day. So in um, the first period is the Paleogene from 65.5 million years ago to like I want to say 23 or 25, like 23 million years or 26 million years ago, around 23 or 26 million years ago. And then the first era, well, the first, I mean, epoch of the Paleogene was Paleocene from 65.5 million to 56 million years ago, which ended with the Paleocene Eocene thermal maximum, which was a heat wave, a 250 or 300,000 year long heat wave that caused the whole Earth from pole to pole to be covered in tropical environment, climates, and rainforest. So the so the um, and then mammals took over the role of dominant species. Um, they between like around 60 or 56 million years ago, the marsupials migrated from some point in the late Cretaceous or early Paleogene. They migrated from South America through Antarctica, um, um, into Australia when the continents were connected and Antarctica was habitable and it was tropical. And then 56 million years ago, South America and Antarctica broke away. It was still connected to Australia for now. 56 to 33 million years ago was the Eocene epoch, when the Earth was still very hot. And by this point, in this time, most of the mammal groups we have today, the ones that didn't appear in the Paleocene, appeared in this epoch. The Eocene, the whales, the rodents, the hoof mammals and carnivores already appeared in the Paleocene, I'm pretty sure, etc. Um, um, then the Eocene mass extinction, which was a minor mass extinction caused by climate change, happened 35 million years ago when Antarctica started to freeze. Antarctica broke away from Australia around 40 million years ago. And then but but Antarctica was only partially covered in ice until 23 million years ago. Then all except for the coast were covered in ice. And the only trees were southern beech trees, which lasted until 2.5 million years ago in Antarctica. Meanwhile, in the rest of the world, um, the mammals continued to dominate, even though all the land mammals went extinct in Antarctica because of it froze over and glaciated. Um, from 33 million years ago to like 26 or 23 million years ago was the Oligocene, when the rainforest started to give way to grasslands. And then from 23 million years ago, or 26 million years ago, I forget which one, to 2.5 million years ago is the Nenogene period, or 23 or 26 million years ago, I forget which one, to to like um let me look up the exact dates. Let me actually look up a timeline of the Cenozoic, which you should be more familiar with the Cenozoic than the Mesozoic because it's the era we live in. Hold on, sorry for this timeout. Hold on, guys. Just looking something up. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you.
I do.
Timeline of the Cenozoic. James, why is your camera off?
I was getting comfortable.
Okay, so I'm looking at one that has the dates. So like so the Eocene ended 33.9 million years ago, and the Oligocene began 23 million. It ended 23 million years ago. And the Oligocene, um, the the Nenogene was from 23 million to 2.6 million years ago. The first epoch was the Miocene, when the grasses continued to expand from 23 million grasslands. I mean, from 23 million years ago, to like um, to like 5.3 million years ago. By the way, grasses only appeared like 30 to 40 million years ago. There were no grass in the age of the dinosaurs, in case you didn't know. And then from 5.3 million years ago to 2.6 million years ago was the Pliocene, when the first hominids, um, or apes, or members of the great ape family that walked on two legs, they appeared. They came down from the trees and started walking upright, like the Australopithecines, like Lucy the Ape Man. And then they they evolved into uh, uh around. Hold on, like, when did the genus Homo appear? Oh yeah, like 2.8 and 2.7, 2,800,000 years ago, and 2,000,007, between 2,800,000 years ago and 2,750,000 years ago was the first members of the genus Homo that today includes humans as the only species, Homo sapiens, us. And then 2.6 million years ago to the present day is the Quaternary period, when the Earth when entered the Ice Age. From 2 point, which the Pleistocene epoch, the Ice Age, is from 2.6 million years ago um to 11,700 years ago, I believe. Hold on, let me look at that map. Let me look at that timeline. I mean, again, like 10,000 years. I would say like um Pleistocene epoch. Pleistocene epoch. Ice Age epoch. Quaternary period. I'm looking it up, sorry. So so then so around 350,000 years ago is when finally modern humans emerge, and then they migrate out of Africa between 70 and 100,000 years ago, reaching um, um, travel across Asia, reaching Australia 50,000 years ago, in Europe 30,000 years ago, around 74,000 years ago. There um, um, a massive super eruption, a super volcanic eruption known as Tober on the island of Sumatra in Indonesia, um, almost wipes out humans. Um, causes a genetic bottleneck, which means there's low genetic diversity. Um, and then there humans get survive, of course. That's why we're here today. But a lot of other species weren't so lucky, like Gigantopithecus, Stegodon, and several species of species of Elasmotherium, which was the Siberian unicorn. It was a it was one species of Elasmotherium. It was Sumatran leopard and Sumatran lion, which are subspecies of the modern lion and modern leopard. Some Elasmotherium had like a big horn. Well, I'm not. It was the size of a mammoth, but it was in the rhino family. It was sometimes nicknamed the Siberian unicorn. I mean, Elasmotherium siberium is that species. Anyway, and then the Stegodon was a distant relative of elephants and mammoths. It was a sister family to the Elephantidae, which includes modern elephants and mammoths. Then there's the Gigantopithecus was the largest great ape ever. So then the um, then I mean like 100,000 years ago, 110,000 years ago is when the last ice age began. I forgot to mention that. I didn't mention that yet. Then humans entered North America around 25,000 or 30,000 years ago, and they domesticated dogs around 15,000 years ago. I think the early humans, I think as far back as Homo habilis around 2.8 mil, around 2.8 million or 2.6 million years ago is when they started using stone tools. I don't know when humans domesticated fire. You want me to look that up, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then wait, hold on. When did humans domesticate fire?
According to History.com, the oldest unequivocal evidence, found at Israel's Kesem Cave, dates back 300,000 to 400,000 years, associating the earliest control of fire with Homo sapiens.
Wow.
Oh, I don't think that's accurate. I think no. They at least as far back as Homo erectus, also known as upright man, or was our direct answer, I believe, or domesticate fire around a million or 1.5 million, around 500,000 years ago. I would say. Who who said wow? Not important. Anyway, and then humans reached South America around 12,500 years ago. 13,000 years ago is in the year 10,950 BCE is when the Earth is hit by the Clovis comet, and it explodes in an airburst over North America, over the Laurentide ice sheet, which covers the continent up to as far south as modern day Chicago. North America glaciers reach in Europe as far south as France, where the Eiffel Tower is today, and in Russia, I think as far south as Mongolia or northern China. And then um, I'm not sure about the southern hemisphere, how far north the glaciers from Antarctica reach. And then so um, and then the comet explodes and triggers it triggers a minor mass extinction over like a 1,500 year long period. A cold snap it causes less than 1,500 years. It's known as the Younger Dryas. They the 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 Earth goes back to a cold glacial place, wiping out the animals like the Ice Age megafauna like mammoths, saber-toothed cats, giant ground sloths, woolly rhinos, dire wolves, American lions, most all the North American horses and camels, and um and ancient bison, as well as any other species. Well, the megafauna in South America in the northern hemisphere goes extinct, like 13,000 years ago, or the latest around 9,000 BC, around 11,000 years ago. The megafauna in Australia was already extinct, like between 50 and 40,000 years ago, around 45,000 years ago. And then that's a whole other topic, Ice Age megafauna. And then so and then like 11,700 years ago um is when around this time the Earth warms up. There's the after the young the Earth forms up like 11,500 years ago. 11 the Younger Dryas ends 11,700 years ago. To the present day is the Holocene epoch, where we're now around 5,300 or 5,500 years ago was the beginning of recorded history. Before that, around 10,000 years ago is when humans start farming, and the Neolithic Revolution begin building structures, building erecting buildings, and then um and then around like in the by the 1800s, humans start causing a sixth mass extinction due to hunting, fishing, habitat destruction, invasive species, pollution, and now climate change. Or, by 1950, some people proposed that's the year that we entered a new epoch, that we're not in the Holocene anymore, but the Anthropocene. All right, that we'll leave it at that today. We'll talk about the future of Earth next time. All right, I think this is we'll wrap up the podcast now. Oh, don't go yet, guys. I'm gonna stop the recording. I'll tell you when you can leave. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching, everyone. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and tell me in the comment section what topics you want to see next. And check out my other channels. Links in the description. And follow me on social media and join my Discord server. See you in the next video. Bye.